Misaka Mikoto is famous for being the railgun, an advanced military weapon in the form of an anime girl who loves frogs. No wonder she's so popular in France.
Remember, they're just jokes.
But did you know Misaka has many different applications of her Electromaster ability and a variety of forms? For those of you who are unfamiliar, Misaka is the main protagonist of a certain scientific railgun and one of the main heroines of a certain magical index, and is one of the most popular light novel characters of all time. She is one of the 7 level 5 Espers in Academy City, and as such, she is technically limited to just one power on paper, that being the power to manipulate electricity. That sounds pretty simple, and not exactly the most original ability in anime, but ultimately, it is the creative applications of this one power that give her a wide variety of abilities, inspired by real-life physics. Not only can she discharge bolts of electricity, but Misaka's body is constantly projecting electromagnetic waves, which act as her own passive radar when the waves hit an object around her. This is just one of many creative features of her Esper power. This also extends to an electromagnetic barrier which covers her entire body and can block out Shokuho Misaki's mind-controlling mental out ability, as Misaka can control her bioelectricity to stop it. Misaka can also control her bioelectricity to boost her physical attributes, such as speed and strength. This power is known as Rampage Dress and is the Esper power of Hokaze Junko, the second in command of Shokuho's clique. As Hokaze is also an Electromaster of sorts, she taught Misaka how to apply her ability to use Rampage Dress. Although Misaka isn't a huge fan of the ability, as a slight mistake in boosting her physical attributes like this could result in injury, and since she's the strongest Electromaster, she could apply too much power, which would end up damaging her nervous system. Also, since the ability involves controlling the flow of power within the body, it reminded Misaka of Accelerator, likely referencing his blood flow reversal, an application of his vector control ability, which he used to kill a Misaka clone while Mikoto was watching. Therefore, Misaka is apprehensive to use it because of these two factors. However, she used it after being hit to jump forward and land on a wall, but she failed to control it in this instance, and as a result, she dislocated her thigh. We also saw Misaka use it in the anime as revealed by the editor of the Railgun manga, where Misaka jumped in front of the moon while fighting Seika in Railgun T. There might be other instances, but these two are the ones confirmed so far. Let's talk more in detail about Misaka's electricity. Her maximum output is 1 billion volts, which is the same as natural lightning. Speaking of that, Misaka can also influence thunderclouds and summon real lightning directly from the sky. One of Misaka's most common attacks is her lightning spear, although despite the name of this attack, it is created via her own electricity rather than natural lightning. Misaka herself is also immune to electrical attacks, which should be obvious since she would probably electrocute herself whenever she tried to use her power. She can also use her electricity to break down other electrical powers like she did in the Railgun manga, and she can also use it to manipulate the air around her, such as creating ozone from oxygen, and can also influence the composition and flow of air. She can also create plasma by ionizing metal. However, she hasn't shown anything on the scale of what Accelerator created in the Railgun manga and anime, where he made a giant plasma ball the size of Academy City. And it's not really clear yet if Misaka can rival this level of power with plasma. There is one application of this power you likely have no idea about unless you've read Railgun SS1, as this hasn't appeared in the anime and likely never will. Let's face it, I have more chance of winning the lottery than Liberal Arts City ever getting an anime adaptation. But in this story, Misaka is able to create water wings from water vapor that was released from the ocean from the attacks that occurred prior. She used the static electricity between the particles to gather and manipulate the water vapor into wings, and she used her electrical power to induce electrolysis, obtaining hydrogen and oxygen to use as fuel. With these wings, she was able to fly for a short period of time and destroyed missiles. Misaka's electricity can also repel electron-based attacks, such as Mugano Shizori's Meltdowner, which fires electron particles which causes a disintegrating effect upon contact with surfaces. And she is also highly adept at hacking various pieces of technology or disrupting electronic signals, causing an EMP effect. Another core component of Misaka's ability is her magnetism, being able to magnetize nearby metallic objects or surfaces around her. Although if the metal is rusted, she cannot magnetize it. Misaka likes to use her magnetism to manipulate iron sand, and molding it into a chainsaw, with each bit of sand vibrating so fast that it will cut nearly anything if it comes into contact with it. With enough iron sand at her disposal, she was even able to create an iron sand kaiju as big as a skyscraper. It was even able to use a huge railgun from its hand. She was also able to create an iron sand tsunami, which she used to take out an entire Russian military base in World War III. If you can't remember this scene in the anime, don't worry, because it was never included. Misaka also uses her magnetism to be able to stick to surfaces and actually swing from building to building, due to the metal components present in most structures. So yes, Misaka is basically the love child of Electro and Spider-Man. Misaka can also create different kinds of electromagnetic waves, including microwaves, so not only is she a real-life military naval weapon, but also a fully portable microwave. Seems legit. If you'd like to see more Index and Railgun videos just like this, don't forget to subscribe below so you don't miss a future video. The signature move of Misaka Mikoto that needed its own origin story about how she came up with it. Misaka uses Lorentz force and imagines a set of parallel rail lines, or at least that's how she did it the first time. This is all in order to fire a small object from her thumb or fingers at 3 times the speed of sound, to cause devastating damage. Misaka normally uses arcade coin tokens for her railgun, but she's very capable of propelling much larger objects by punching them. With the coin, she has a max range of about 50 meters, but the range and power depends on what other objects she can use. In the light novel, we also saw a different variation of the railgun in New Testament 18, but I'll discuss that later in the video, so stay tuned. As we saw in Railgun Season 3 and in the manga, Misaka began her slow transformation into a level 6, thanks to Kihara Gensei linking her to the Misaka network via Exterior. It is worth noting that none of Misaka's level 6 shift forms are a full level 6, as she would have exploded into a supernova the moment she reached this milestone, as she is unable to control it safely. Therefore, her forms are referred to in the Toaru fandom as 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3, and it is worth noting we probably would have saw more forms if she wasn't stopped by Toma's Dragon Strike as she continued to evolve like a Pokemon. Misaka became slowly more inhuman as she progressed her development, growing horns, a third eye, and then her body appearing like a silhouette, but with many stars visible within it, along with a halo above her head. According to the notes made about her last form's character design, she was slowly becoming more like Iwaz with her appearance, basically a scientific angel. In her first form, Misaka showed to have her standard abilities of manipulating electricity and magnetism, but to a much greater extent, by releasing huge electric blasts, magnetizing the rubble of multiple skyscrapers and other structures, and creating a large iron sand barrier which stops any incoming attacks. In her 5.2 form, a mass of light in the shape of a grid appeared as part of Misaka, but floating beside her, and she was able to propel this to hit Sogita while he was off guard. Now, the last form we saw, Misaka used black and purple lightning to create a wall protecting her, while she was creating a huge mass of energy in the shape of a black ball, that if released, will likely destroy Academy City and much more. Now, let's talk about the stuff from the Index light novel, so if you haven't read up to this volume, you have been warned. Misaka acquired a piece of technology in New Testament 15 known as the Anti-Art Attachment, or AAA for short, which was previously used by Kihara Noken, and yes, he's the best of doggos. The AAA basically is an arsenal of different weapons which can attach itself to the user. These include guns, cannons, swords, spears, molecular vibration, electromagnetic wave emitters, catapults, lasers, and excitation emission rods for them, missile pods with precision guided missiles, plasma cannons, bunker busting and excavation drills, plasma blades, liquid weapon turrets with acid sprayers, flamethrowers and liquid nitrogen emitters, Gatling guns, rapid-fire cannons, a large caliber railgun, and a tactical armor-piercing drill. Thank God, that's it. It attaches itself to Misaka's body like a mecha suit, with the large weapons projecting from her back. The AAA was designed specifically to kill immortal beings, such as the magic gods. But how can it do that when it's just a bunch of man-made weapons? That's because it is imbued with a portion of Aleister Crowley's magic and willpower, and this connection to Aleister is likely made via the sigils or magical symbols on the AAA, which also boosts its power. Since it does use magic, even if indirectly, if the user is an Esper like Misaka, she will suffer internal damage and bleeding as a result. Although these symptoms are not as severe as when Motoharu uses magic, as he is the one directly doing it. Therefore, Misaka can continue using the device without being critically injured or harmed. The AAA is also capable of transforming, such as into a flight mode and turning into a large motorbike. Also, with the AAA and teaming up with Shokuho Misaki, the 5th rank level 5 Esper, they were able to use a combined attack known as the Liquid Proof Railgun. While Shokuho's power Mental Out is most commonly known to control the minds of others, it can certainly be applied in different ways due to how it functions. As Mental Out works by manipulating fluids or moisture in the brain to get Shokuho's desired effect, but she can also manipulate fluid on Misaka's railgun coin as it's fired to cool it down continuously so it doesn't melt mid-air as it normally would in a standard railgun attack. Due to the liquid expanding as steam is released, the coin continuously accelerates as long as the abilities at play are still active, giving it a piercing effect, enough to penetrate the windowless building, which even Accelerator couldn't damage. Let me know which ability of Misaka's is your favourite, and check out these other videos for their powers and abilities.